Um,
All right. So I mentioned it, and we're gonna get into it. So, we have Jada Pinkett's new book, Worthy. Really great, like tons of interesting things that have happened so far. But I want to start the story here. So I'm about in chapter. Uh, let's just. It's called My Grandmother's Garden. Um, And so basically, she grew up with her grandmother, Marion. That was her name. And there's a part of the story. I'm just gonna literally like read this out to you. Um, the idea that girls and women should not play on their looks was ingrained in me from an early age. The most revealing conversation I ever had with Marion took place one day when we were sitting together in the library family room, and I asked about an old sepia tone photograph on the first shelf above her desk. It was of a woman with a baby on her lap and a little girl standing next to her. The girl's expression was a bit somber, and the eyes of an adult woman were vacant. Grandmother, who's that? Was all I asked. She took the photograph down, stared at it for a second, and then pointed to the woman in the photo, saying that is my mother. And she pointed to the girl who was standing and said, "That's me." She was so cute in her little dress. Grandmother pointed to the child on her mother's lap. "That was my baby sister, but she died very young." I was immediately sad, but I wanted to know more. Her mother, my great grandmother, apparently suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and was institutionalized in Boston by her husband, my great grandfather. I understood that Marion's mother was not available to really care for her children. When grandmother told me of her childhood trauma, I couldn't believe it. In my eyes, she had a perfect life. Grandmother worked very hard to give that perception, but it could not have been further from the truth. As an adult, I found out that Marion traveled back and forth to Jamaica during her childhood. During a visit when she was 13, she got pregnant. The details under what circumstances she was impregnated were not clear, but Aunt Karen, the family historian, and I came to the consensus that probably Marion wasn't aware of what sex was. She never gave the impression that she had been raped. It seemed as if she simply didn't know what was happening and it was an innocent mistake. The fact that she was so adamant about teaching me at an early age how reproduction worked leads me to believe that ignorance was the biggest culprit in her teen pregnancy. It would also explain why she felt compelled to become a sex educator in the school system when it was still taboo. It is so painful to imagine the shame and rejection she faced being black, the daughter of immigrants, 13, pregnant, and unwed. In the mid 1920s, no less. She was motherless, and her father wanted nothing to do with her, so she bore the child with little to no familial support. She gave her baby boy up for adoption and went into the foster care system, where she was placed with a white family. While she lived with them, she served as a maid to earn her keep. This is likely where she learned how to clean a house so meticulously. The horror of going through all of this as a child, alone, haunts me. Inside this proud, accomplished matriarch was a hidden history of a little girl made to feel unworthy before I was even dreamed of. The miraculous part is that Marion did not let the poisons ruin her desire for a good life. Picture perfect as the wife of a predominant doctor and one of Baltimore's most distinguished
American horror tragedy
of institutionalizing black women. First of all,
about this because like
as we talk about like what's going on in Israel and Palestine, and you see firsthand like how upset some people are. Every day now, Ben Shapiro is putting out a video. This is awful. Condemn these people. You have all these VCs. Oh, don't hire these people when they try to work for you. Oh, don't do this. Don't do that. Oh my God, this person felt that way. Everyone's trying to make a stance and get you to feel a particular way. The reality is, people are dying on both sides. Lots of people are dying. War is not pretty. Slavery also was not pretty. Discrimination, Jim Crow, and all that shit was not pretty. And the weird part
this is like some sort of way. It's shocking that any black people survived it all. When you really get down to it, everyone probably should have died, or they should have just like holocausted their way out of the destruction. Because when people go through the sort of like dehumanization process that those people went to, it's like it gets ingrained in your cells like epigenetically. You don't just like grow out of it. And there has never ever been any sort of like push or strive or ambition toward therapy or any sort of like rectifying reparatory justice to the people who went through all of that shit. So before this part in the book, Jada also talks about how her family members were like civil rights activists. I don't even know how it's all the story of the, I guess it's the great great grandmother in this case. So she has a child, but then the child goes to Jamaica. The child is raped. It's her grandmother is raped and had a baby, gave the baby up for adoption. She was in the foster care system herself. This is at 13 years old. It's just like it just reminds me like over and over again why abortion is just so, it's like critical. It's not even funny because all the stories end up in tragedy. All of them. Like, I'm sorry, but this story, that part of the story is tragedy and it is unworthy. It is not a story that you would ever want to like replicate on someone else. And these things are not by coincidence. Like, listen to the way that she's actually telling the story. She's saying her husband put her in an institution. What, a person cannot put another adult person in an institution. That doesn't even make any sense. Here's the reality. If you're married to someone, okay, and like whatever they're going through emotionally, and if you personally don't want to deal with it, you can just divorce that person. But you don't really have the right to like take another adult person and say like, okay, now I'm going to institutionalize them. There are actual people who cannot take care of themselves. But like I would beg to differ that it's like all the people that maybe you guys, or not you, I don't want to say you guys. I feel like some people might be a little bit more, it's not even progressive. I guess it's just more pragmatic in terms of like what it actually means to be able to take care of yourself. It really simply means being able to work, okay, and use your money to pay for your cost of living, whatever that is. If it requires food for you to live, then you have to buy the food. If it requires transportation for you to live, then you have to pay for the bus or a car. Like whatever way that you get around, like you have to like learn how to pay for that. That is the cost of living. If you can do that, you can take care of yourself. But in this particular point in time, we're talking about when women didn't have the ability to work. So if their husbands are saying, "Oh, I don't want to deal with you emotionally," then they just can just ship them off to institutions. And it's something I keep seeing repeated over and over again because the reality is there's like quite a lot of women generally. Like, I think the shittiness of men should teach you something. If women are simply playing into their womanness in American society, you're in for a hellhole because lots of these men are really, really trash. Like, they're really, really awful. Like, they have a lot of baggage and problems. And I feel like some of you haven't been in serious enough relationships to, like, actually understand, like, the real shit that some of these men are dealing with. it's not like a joking matter. It's actually very serious. Like when they are not getting promotions that they want at their jobs, you know, when they don't live in safe environments, they have to deal with the real terror and violence from other men. Those things are real. Like men really fight and kill each other and steal shit and do really evil things all the time, and that's how it is. And if you're married to one, imagine being married to someone who's on like the losing end of this situation. It isn't pretty. It's awful. It's brutal. I think that what Jada's grandmother went through is tragic, in all honesty. And I think that it's really sad because so many, I think that black children, no matter how, well, I don't want to say that. I think that there are some situations in which it's probably better to take a child away from their parents, but I don't think that, I think that there's a lot of, to me, there's a lot of like terrorism in terms of like the social welfare system and deliberately trying to ruin black families, because like if you actually look right now at really every story, like if so Jada also in the beginning of this part of the story, she goes on to talk about how her mom was working nights as a nurse, and because her mom was working nights, she had all of this free time to like go out and explore the neighborhood. So from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. she was going to the gas station to hang out with her boyfriend, and she would literally just walk 30 minutes through her like, you know, neighborhood to get there. And this is when she was 13, and her mom like literally never knew because her mom was always working nights. These are called like latchkey kids, and they're pretty typical examples of latchkey kids. The thing about being a latchkey kid is like you're gonna grow up via media, like whatever the you know, hip hop or rap songs are talking about, that's what you're gonna be talking about, because like you don't have parents, your parents aren't really there, you don't really have a nanny, and you don't have like a scheduled routine during those particular times, so you could just do like whatever you want to do. That's a real problem in society for youth, especially for urban youth. And so you see a whole bunch of urban youth raising themselves. Like Summer Walker has actually raised a generation of black girls, and I don't know if I would say that that's good. All the rap girls, now it's like Sexy Red. Like Sexy Red is raising a generation of black girls. That's terrifying. That is like actually terrifying. Like Sexy Red is kind of awful for adolescents. Like if you shouldn't, you probably shouldn't be listening to that music unless you're like well into your 30s or 40s or something. I don't know, like that is not good music for youth. That's not the point though. I think that like I wish, I hope I hope that women in this society, more women, take the time to work on their independence. And what I mean by that is just literally having a job in an apartment and food and a book. Maybe having a job, an apartment, a book, and food at this point might be enough. Like let's just start there for a second and like let that be the thing, because that is safe. You know, hopefully like you live in a building where it is safe, and you know, you trust your neighbors to an extent, but it's we got to start there. Like we have to start somewhere, and I really mean that. We need to start from a place of safety where there's bodily autonomy, and it just doesn't have really much to do with males. I think it's really critical right now that we like separate the story from males. There's a lot of other conversations in the white community happening about Britney Spears' memoir. I can't take on that baggage right now because the American experience is racialized, and unfortunately we just don't have enough representation in the black community. So we have to have like an intense amount of fucking representation where we have like just books about black women, okay, who are very different. These women have lived seriously different fucking lives. These women are not similar. Their stories are fucking way different, okay? We're telling two different stories at the same time. And even my story, different from both of these women. All black women are not the same. You're not monolithic. Please stop clumping us in together. And if you really want to have a fucking conversation, read between the goddamn lines and like critically think for yourself. Like think about what you are seeing. Think about like what you're hearing. I'm so tired of the same stories of bullshit. They're terrorizing me. And it is terrorizing when you have other like because you grow together at the same time with other people. So there are a lot of conversations like Jada Pinkett was on the Jay Shetty podcast. I saw that Kerry Washington is in London right now talking with that guy who did that show with the cars or whatever about Thicker Than Water. All of these are like American experiences that a lot of people have never heard before. They had no idea that it was like this, and it is. Like for instance, on the Vanderbilt campus right now, there's some girl. She's like black and she's from London and she's teaching like this visual arts seminar, right? Like, and it was like yesterday I met her. This is her first day in the United States in America. It was like with me, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. So I just want to really say, especially if you're a black girl and you have the capacity to buy, one of these books. I mean, it's incredible. If you look here inside the book, she shares all of these like really cool images, okay, of like her family and her own life. It's actually fascinating. It's seriously fascinating, and I think that you might, as time moves kind of quickly, and American society becomes more racist and it gets worse, it can be really easy to get lost in someone else's story and forget where we are right now because we're still not equal citizens, right? Like, we don't have all of the same rights and history and privileges and wealth that everyone else has. We don't have that. And it's very important to like stick to the story. Currently, this is where we are. I don't. These are just like partial stories. These people aren't dead yet. Okay, they're here now. They're telling a part of their American story. I'm just giving you my interpretation of reading their story and feelings that I have that have emerged from me interacting with this content. It's not necessarily like changing my life in many ways, but I really do hope that you being aware that I am aware of these women's stories kind of encourages you to think about the possibility that there are three black women, myself, Kerry Washington, Jada Pinkett, three completely different black women who all have very different fucking stories and different lived experiences that you may not know about. And you would have to like listen to these fucking stories to understand it. That's what I hope that you get from this. Partially.